The tension at Sunday dinner had been building for months, but tonight felt different. Marcus was especially aggressive, his voice carrying that sharp edge that always meant he'd been drinking before he arrived at my parents' house. "Sarah, you need to get your priorities straight," he snapped, pointing his fork at me across the same mahogany dining table that had hosted this argument too many times. "While you're out there playing Mother Teresa with homeless people and addicts, your own family is struggling." Dad nodded from the head of the table. "Your brother's right. This volunteer work is getting out of hand. 3 nights a week at soup kitchens, weekends at shelters, board meetings every Tuesday. When was the last time you helped us with anything?" I kept eating my meatloaf, letting the familiar criticisms roll over me. At 29, I'd learned that defending my work only made these dinners worse. My family simply didn't believe helping people was a worthwhile use of time. "Remember when I needed help moving last month?" Marcus pressed. "You were off at some charity gala instead of helping your own brother. Family comes first. Always." Mom sighed that disappointed sigh I'd been hearing since childhood. "Sweetheart, charity isn't bad. But you're neglecting your real life, your career, your relationships, your family. This obsession with helping strangers is becoming unhealthy." Jennifer, always ready to pile on, leaned forward. "Honestly, Sarah, it looks like you're running away from your own life. Like you need to feel important by inserting yourself into other people's tragedies." It stung because there was just enough truth to hurt. While Marcus ran a construction company, Jennifer climbed her corporate ladder, and David finished his MBA, I spent my days coordinating food drives and writing grant proposals. Dad didn't hesitate to point it out. "What career prospects does a volunteer coordinator even have? You're turning 30. It's time to build a life for yourself." Marcus scoffed. "She makes what, 35 grand a year organizing bake sales and charity dinners? Meanwhile, I'm earning 6 figures running actual businesses. At least Jennifer's job has growth potential," Mom added. "The nonprofit world isn't sustainable. You can't build a life on good intentions." I swallowed carefully. "I understand your concerns about my financial stability." "It's not just financial," Jennifer cut in. "Last Christmas you skipped our gift exchange to serve breakfast at a shelter. That hurt Mom's feelings." "It did," Mom said sadly. "We've been in your life for 29 years. Those strangers forget you the moment you stop showing up." David finally chimed in. "From a business perspective, your resume looks unfocused. Volunteer positions, part-time nonprofit work, board memberships that probably don't even pay. It doesn't scream career growth." Their criticisms felt rehearsed, like they'd coordinated this intervention. "We're worried about you," Dad said. "This savior complex isn't healthy." Marcus slammed his beer down. "Exactly. You give everything to people who don't even know your name, while ignoring your own family. It's selfish." "Selfish?" I whispered. "Yes," Jennifer said. "You get to feel good helping strangers while ignoring us." They continued for another hour, each taking turns explaining why my dedication to charitable work was a character flaw. When I finally drove home, their words echoed heavily. Maybe they weren't completely wrong. Maybe I was avoiding parts of adult life. But the work mattered deeply, to people who had nowhere else to turn. 3 weeks passed quietly. I kept my schedule: Tuesday board meetings, Thursday food bank evenings, weekend shelter shifts. If anything, my work felt more meaningful after their dismissal. Then Marcus called. His voice was tight with panic. "Sarah, I need to talk to you. It's serious." We met at a diner. He looked older than 32, dark circles, trembling hands. "My business is in trouble," he said. "Bad trouble. My biggest client declared bankruptcy. They owe me 400 grand I'll never see." He walked me through the disaster. Unpaid invoices, equipment loans, payroll he couldn't cover. "I've got 6 weeks before I have to declare bankruptcy," he whispered. "I've mortgaged the house twice. Jennifer and David have helped with personal expenses, but this is too big." Then he looked at me with pleading eyes. "You know people in the business community through your foundation work. Could any of them help? Partnerships? Loans? Anything?" I felt surprisingly calm. "How much are you looking for?" "At least 600,000 to survive the next few months. Maybe more. Banks won't touch me." This was the first time Marcus had ever asked me for real help. I'll see what I can do, I told him, relief washed over his face. Thank you. Maybe your nonprofit connections will finally pay off. Over the following days, the dominoes fell. Jennifer called next, laid off 2 months before her wedding. We owe $20,000 more on the venue alone, she said. If we lose the deposit, we're ruined. David called after that. I'm thinking of starting a consulting business. Do your foundation contacts need consultants? I need clients lined up before graduation. Then Mom called. Your father's practice is struggling. The bigger firms are killing us. Do any of your charity contacts need accounting services? Even small projects would help. For the first time in years, my family didn't want my presence or moral support. They wanted my professional connections. I told each of them, I'll see what I can do. And I meant it. But they had no idea who I actually was. The calls I made weren't to soup kitchen volunteers or shelter coordinators. They were to my assistant. Because the next morning I walked into the downtown skyscraper where the Hartwell Foundation occupied the top floors. I took the executive elevator to the 42nd floor and sat behind the mahogany desk where I spent most of my days. The nameplate read, Sarachin Executive Director and Trust Administrator at 3 p.m. Margaret brought in the emergency loan applications I'd requested. Marcus's was first. A plea for $750,000 from our Small Business Crisis Relief Program. Jennifer's was next. $45,000 from our Individual Crisis Support Fund. At David's followed. $100,000 from Emerging Entrepreneur Program. My parents' application sought support for their accounting firm under our Senior Small Business Initiative. I reviewed each application according to the criteria I personally helped create. Not one of them qualified. Our mission focused on poverty reduction, community development, sustainable impact, not personal financial rescue or businesses built on poor planning. AT 4:30, Marcus called. Any updates? He asked desperately. I'm still reviewing options, I answered truthfully. Calls from Jennifer, David, and Mom followed, each more urgent than the last. I scheduled meetings with all of them for the following week. They didn't even ask where my office was. They assumed I meant the community center. Marcus arrived first. He stepped out of the elevator onto the 42nd floor and froze. The floor-to-ceiling windows, the art, the massive desk, it didn't match anything he'd imagined. This is not what I expected, he said. I gestured for him to sit. I've reviewed your loan application. My what? I slid the folder toward him. The application you submitted to the Hartwell Foundation 3 weeks ago. Recognition dawned slowly. You work here. I run it, I said. I've been the executive director for 8 years. You manage how much money? About $1.8 billion in assets. He stared at me, stunned. When you said you'd make some calls, I reviewed your application through our standard process, and it doesn't meet our criteria. He paled as he read the denial. I need this money or I lose everything. I know. That's why I wanted to tell you in person. He shook his head. All these years we told you to get a real job, and you were running this? I didn't answer. He already knew. Jennifer arrived next. Then David. Then my parents. Each walked into the office assuming I was introducing them to someone important, only to realize I was that person. Each learned their application had been denied. Each asked why I never told them. Each heard the same answer, you never asked. But I didn't leave them stranded. None qualified for funding, but I connected them to programs designed exactly for people in their situations. Marcus entered our job recovery program for failed business owners. Jennifer joined our career development center. David was hired by one of our community initiatives. My parents were placed in our senior financial planning network. Didn't know money, but real help. The same kind of help I'd been giving thousands of strangers for years. The help they'd mocked me. 4.3 months later, they were all rebuilding. Marcus found stable employment. Jennifer completed a new certification. David secured a meaningful job. My parents downsized into stability. And then Thanksgiving came. This time the table was smaller. The meal humbler. But the dynamic had completely changed. Marcus lifted his glass. I owe Sarah an apology. We all do. We dismissed her work as nothing, while she was running one of the most important foundations in the region. Jennifer nodded. We told you to focus on real success, while you were distributing millions to help people. David added. I've learned more working in your programs than my entire MBA. Mom cried softly. We never listened. We assumed we knew what you did. Dad squeezed her hand. We're proud of you, Sarah. I looked around the table, at people humbled not by me but by life. The work I do isn't valuable because of how much money it controls, I told them. It's valuable because it changes lives. That's the only measure that matters. For the first time they understood that as I drove home that night I realized something. True generosity isn't rescuing people from the consequences of their choices. It's building systems that help them rise again. That's what my work always was. And now finally they saw it.